All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys for joining me today and for waiting patiently for the intro to finish up. I hope everybody's doing well today. We certainly have some interesting topics to go over and talk about. Will we get a Spider-Man 2 PC rant? I don't know if it'll be a rant per se, but we will be talking about Spider-Man 2 and its PC launch because I think that there's some pretty interesting things to kind of go over here and evaluate. That is one of the things we're going to be talking about. We also have an interesting rumor about Sony apparently behind the scenes quietly canceling 1 to 2, I would say, relatively significant PC ports. And it's hard to say if there's truth to this. There might be. But if it is true, I want to talk about the wider implications, potentially. We're also going to be talking about Forza Horizon 5. It was announced in the middle of the stream yesterday. Randomly. Microsoft just kind of dropped it out of nowhere on a post on X saying it's coming to PlayStation. And I wasn't expecting that. I don't think many people were expecting that. I don't think anybody was expecting it, honestly. So we'll talk about that. There are more and more rumors emerging about all these different games that apparently are coming this year from Microsoft. It really seems like it's the whole slate. I'm going to be honest. Everything we're hearing, it sounds like the whole slate. But, yeah, as I said, I appreciate you guys joining me today. And before we get into any of these topics, I want to thank you for watching. I want to make sure to give a shout out to anybody who watches the streams after the fact. Not everybody can catch the streams live. And there are quite a few people who watch them in their entirety later, or even just portions of them later. So I just want to make sure I'm giving you guys a shout out as well. I do appreciate the support and the viewership. I want to ask those of you who are here right now and watching to please take a moment, and if you haven't already, hit that like button. If you want to help the stream and just let me know that you enjoy the content and you want to help kind of get it out there in YouTube's algorithm, hitting that like button is the easiest way to do that. And there are also a couple of ways you can support the channel directly as we're going over these topics and having these discussions. You can become a channel member. You gain access to exclusive perks. You gain access to Morning with the Misses. We just did an hour-and-a-half Morning with the Misses today. So if you are a channel member, please go check that out. We've been doing members lounges all throughout the week. You gain access to that. And you gain access to emotes and membership badges. Consider gifting memberships, consider dropping a super chat, or consider dropping a direct donation. These are all ways in which you can help support the channel directly. And just a big shout out and thank you to everybody who does that, because I'm only able to produce this content and do these streams and run this channel the way I do thanks to you guys. We have Overexposure, their third time super chatting. Thank you, buddy. Saying, how many more PC launch disasters is it going to take before they flatline completely? They're selling nothing, and people will pirate their games anyway. Well, let's start there, Overexposure. Let's start with the PC situation with PlayStation games. So, yesterday, Spider-Man 2 launched on Steam, and I want to bring up the concurrent player count. I want to see if the number changed. Why is it not coming up? There we go. So today it reached a new peak of 22,949 players. So it is going up a little bit, which is interesting. We're going to have to pay attention to this. It looks like it's on the cusp of hitting 23,000 players. But I think there's a couple of interesting things with this situation with Spider-Man 2. One of the more interesting things is the fact that this is easily one of Sony's biggest games and the shortest release time from PS5 launch to PC for a title this size. You would think that Spider-Man 2 would make a really big splash on PC, but it's not. It's not doing terribly. I mean, I don't know if I would call it a disaster. I will say it could end up being a disaster because it seems like there are a lot of bugs and a lot of issues, a lot of crashing. It seems like Spider-Man 2 is not very well optimized for PC. And a lot of PC players are very frustrated by this, understandably so. If you buy the game, you want it to work. You don't want it to not work. But this is all the more interesting because it's like, So let's evaluate the situation as a whole. Sony announces Spider-Man 2 is coming to PC. Then they don't say anything. They don't market it. They don't put out any more trailers. They wait until the day before. They wait until the day before it launches to do the whole marketing cycle. They did a 24-hour marketing cycle. The shortest marketing cycle I think I've ever seen for a game of this size. They dropped the trailers. They dropped the, minimum spec requirements. And I think pre-orders went up. And then it just released the next day for $60. And I saw people saying, well, listen, the reason why the PC player count is so low is because, well, they didn't market it. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess that could contribute, but I'm pretty sure most people knew this game was coming to PC. They may not have marketed it, but the trailer was out there, You could wishlist it. So it's not like it was being hidden. It's just Sony didn't talk about it. Didn't they go over budget for Spider-Man 2? Doubt they wanted to spend more on marketing. Boss, we're not starting already. We're not starting. Come on. It's too early for that. I mean, that could be a reason why, but when I see people saying, like, the reason why it's not off to a good start and it's not selling that great is because they didn't market it. And I'm like, well, there's a reason for that. And that's the peculiar thing. The peculiar thing is, why would they not market it? Why would they wait until the day before? It's very strange. And it was done intentionally. That's the important thing to understand. It was done intentionally for some reason. Boss, please. No. No, it's too early. You need to wait. You need to be patient. You need to be good, boss. Sony did that intentionally. And there's also the fact, you're saying there's a Halo event later? You think that's where they're going to announce it for PS5? Is there a Halo event? I didn't know that. Uh-oh. Hold on. Was this just announced? Oh, no, I don't. Join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. PT for an in-depth look at Halo Infinite's free spring update, including Operation Frontlines, 2025 roadmap, and a few more explosive surprises. Well, I mean, look, I think they could announce it here. Yeah, I didn't even know about this. I think they could announce it here because, I mean, look at the way Forza Horizon 5 was announced, dude. It was just, here you go. What's interesting is I think Jez Corden said that he heard Halo is coming before Forza. What if they were to shadow drop it, dude? Could you imagine if they did that? Yeah, we're just shadow dropping Halo the Master Chief Collection on PS5. Could you just imagine? I doubt they would shadow drop it. But I could see them announcing it. I mean, they're saying explosive. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to like call it too early, but I saw that, Chris. Yeah. Wow. I mean, it just feels like the floodgates truly are opening here. I mean, they're really just kind of, they're like, let it all go. I mean, yeah, full slate. Ten minutes ago, Gears of War collection rumor, supposedly real, launching day one on PlayStation and Xbox. Gaming Beast, you're waiting for Gears? Saying, MBG, I mean, it's done. I feel like, as you said, Xbox is third party now. They're crossing the red line. They've broken the barrier. William, you're saying, since 2018, Xbox has been trying to buy Sega. Looks like they didn't have to because they became Sega 2.0. I mean, yeah, dude, it's kind of wild. I mean, Forza in it of itself is kind of crazy. Like Forza just randomly being announced for PS5 on a random Thursday, quite surprising, but I mean, it feels like it's about to accelerate even more so, where it's like, oh yeah, here's Halo the Master Chief Collection for PS5. Oh, by the way, here's a brand new Gears of War collection of remasters. Day one, PS5 launch. Holy shit. Yeah. That's wow. So I know that there are a lot of PlayStation players who were eager to get their hands on Halo or Gears of War. That Gears of War collection sounds interesting to me because I was under the impression it was just a remaster of the first game, but now we're hearing that it is going to be all three games. Well, I'm assuming it would be the main, like the first three games. I don't know if they would include Judgment with that per se, but very interesting, man. With cross-platform multiplayer, that's nuts. That is nuts. Yeah. Boss, dude, I can't yet. Okay, we got to see if we get memberships, buddy. I know. We got to see if we get memberships first. I can't just give you the treats right away. You know that. You know how this works, boss. Mr. B, you're saying that's actually hype. Figuratively literal with a super chat. You're saying could be an experiment to test the interest on PC, but could also mean their PC initiative is being put on the back foot, so it's shoved out the door. Yeah, well, kind of getting back to the PC discussion with PlayStation. Hold on, I have to readjust this for a moment. I mean, yeah, there's something weird going on with Sony and PC right now. And Titus comes in and drops the first 5 bomb on you guys. Let's get some W's flowing in the chat for Titus. Thank you for dropping 5 membership gifts, man. Boss is thankful as well. He's clearly itching for some treats. So we'll see if we can get to that 25 mark. Good stuff, Titus. Could be an experiment to test out the interest on PC. Well, the rumor that we're hearing is that apparently Sony internally has canceled. You can't bite that. Stop. They've canceled Gran Turismo 7's PC port and Demon Souls PC port. And that's fascinating to me if true, because it's like, dude, those are two games that would have, especially Demon Souls. Demon Souls would have done, I think, really well on PC. And apparently those games are just not happening. If the rumor's true, those games are not coming to PC. And this has led people to really speculate about if it were true, if it were to be true, and we see the weird, bizarre launch of Spider-Man 2, you know, what does this mean? What could it mean? Are they pivoting away from PC launches, or are they just going to reevaluate how they want to do it? I've seen some people speculating that this actually means they're getting closer to day and date. It's not confirmed, Capono. No, it's not confirmed that these games were canceled, these PC ports, but the rumor comes from apparently an individual who apparently had access to Returnal on PC, or at least footage of Returnal running on PC, and kind of leaked it out early. So it seems like it's a source that has some level of credibility. I would take it with a pinch of salt, but I just think the timing of the rumor is interesting, because it's like everybody's looking at Spider-Man 2 on PC and being like, this is kind of weird. The game is like half-baked. It has a lot of issues. It's unoptimized, which is extremely unusual for Nixus Software. Oh, thank you. That's extremely unusual for Nixus Software. Nixus did the port for Spider-Man 2 on PC, and from what I can tell, I mean, it's got mixed reviews. It's got like a 56% rating on Steam. I'm seeing people all over Twitter and YouTube basically pointing out like how it's just kind of busted in some ways. And you just have to question, like, what is going on? None of this seems right. Why is the game rushed? Why are you releasing it unoptimized? Why are you not marketing it? A lack of strategy? A lack of something. Something's going on. We have Poopy Snoopy with a super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, Sony wouldn't be going to PC if more PlayStation users bought the games. On PS4, barely 1/5 of the player base were buying their exclusives. I mean, there is a certain level of truth to this. We talked about this the other day, where it's like, for me, I feel like a game selling 10 to 12 to 15 million copies on a single platform is really good. Like, to me, that just seems objectively good. When you look at the install base, 80, 90, 100, 110 million players, and you think, well, this game is extremely expensive. This game cost $250 to $300 million to produce. We really would prefer if we could go beyond 20 million sold, right? If we could get to the 25 million, maybe 30 million mark, maybe even further than that. I understand that Sony wants to do that and they want to achieve that, but from what I can tell, it doesn't seem like PC is going to make that happen. And that's the important thing here. How do we get more PlayStation owners to buy our exclusive games? How do we do that? Well, I think really, truly one of the only ways is you got to just keep it up, you know, like keep making good games, and yeah, maybe put them on sale a little bit sooner, potentially. I understand that Sony feels like they've hit a ceiling here, but I do think that if they just remained committed, if they kind of took the Nintendo approach, just remain committed to growing your IP, keep it going for years. And I think eventually, like, you might start to get more people on board, just kind of like natural organic growth. It might not, I think Sony's just worried about how they're going to do that while the budget of these games continues to balloon. So it seems like it's going to be a combination of trying to figure out how do we get more people to buy these games while simultaneously making sure the budget doesn't get too out of control. Arij Javad, I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly. You're saying, hey, MBG, commenting after 3 years on your channel. I wanted to ask, we've been hearing about Cory Barlog's next game since 2018. It's the longest teased game. When will it be announced? That's a great question. I don't know. I want to say it's been in development since like 2018, so it's got to be ready soon. Yeah, Capono says, forgive MBG. He's terrible with names. I am. I'm not sure, man. Maybe this year. I don't want to get my hopes too high, but maybe this year. By the way, guys, we have almost 250 people here watching. If you haven't already, please do me a favor and hit that like button to help the stream. I'd very much appreciate that. Poopy Snoopy with another super chat says, won't get loads of sales on PC, but more is more. That is true. I think that Sony maybe sees it as a potential risk due to pirating, though. Like, a lot of people are, I don't know how much truth there is to it, but people are saying that Spider-Man 2 is getting pirated like crazy. I know it's getting pirated. I know it was cracked within 2 minutes. I don't know how many people. I don't know how you even keep track of that. I don't know how many people are playing it pirated. I guess Sony can see that. But yeah, the question is, does Sony believe that if they were to go deeper into the PC ecosystem, right? If they were to say, you know what, going forward, we want to try to go day and date on PC, do they believe that it's going to produce 3 million more sales day one? Because if so, I would say that potentially is consequential, right? That's nothing to scoff at, where it's like our game sold 4 million units day one. Our big new AAA tentpole title sold 4 million units or 3.5 million units day one or within the first 3 days on PS5, sold another 2.53 million on PC. You're looking at 6.5 million within just a couple days, which is very good. Or maybe even more than that, if depending on what game we're talking about, right? Like we could just say Spider-Man 3. If Spider-Man 3 has the potential to sell 4 million units or 3 million units, let's just say 3 million, right? 3 million in the first day. Let's just say that. It has the potential to sell 3 million units the first day between PS5 and PS6, I would assume at that time. If they launch it day one on PC, again, it's like, what's the sales potential day one to add on to the PS5 and PS6 sales? Are we looking, is it just going to be 1 million? Because if it's just something like 1 million or 1.5, Sony might question if it's worth that. Because you have to understand that if they want to launch their games day and date, it's going to take extra development time and more resources. There's a reason why Spider-Man 2 is not running that great on PC right now. Figuratively Literal with a super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, could be wrong, but Microsoft basically opting out puts PlayStation in a very strong position. So I think it makes them comfortable. And why risk PlayStation with PC? You might be right. You might be right, Figuratively Literal. I think that there's a lot of people who would see that as like cope, potentially. But I do think that there might be some truth to this when you look at it holistically, because it's true that right now, if the rumors we're hearing are true, it's like, holy shit, man. Microsoft really is just like, we want to dump all of our games on your console. You know, like if the rumor's true, we're getting Halo in the next couple months. We're getting a Gears of War collection day one on PS5. Sony I mean, keep in mind, dude, Sony was trying to end Xbox for the last 20 plus years. That was their biggest competitor. That was their biggest rival. So you have that happening at a time when your console is selling well. You have, again, GTA 6 coming up. You still have incredible third-party support. You probably have the strongest third-party support than you've ever had in the history of your platform. When you consider all these different factors, you can maybe see how Sony's like, you know what? Maybe getting 10 million sales on PS5 isn't too bad. Maybe that's okay. It's a potential thought that could be running through the executives' heads right now at Sony based on what they're seeing. Alan, you're saying, and you have to understand, MBG, do you know how many players have PC and PS5? If they release day and date, they probably will buy the PC version, so it's not going to be that big of a difference. Oh, so I see what you're saying, Alan. So you're saying that Sony might be making it too easy for players who have both a PS5 and a PC, if it launches day one on PC, to just say, oh, yeah, I'll just get it on PC, which is not good for Sony. And Perfect Image, you're saying PC players don't really play PlayStation, look at the market. Well, I guess that's kind of the question, right? How many PC first players also have PS5s? Okay, you're saying Sony literally put out a blog the other day explaining that they are expanding their support and feature set on PC. You're saying the level of cope from PlayStation fans is reaching the Xbox hold the line levels. I mean, I'm not so sure that I would call it cope, though. I mean, from some people, maybe, depending on how they're wording it or behaving. But to be honest, I do think there is reason to consider, not believe, but consider the possibility that Sony may be reevaluating how they wanted, if they want to really continue to pursue PC this aggressively. The biggest thing that I can't, because you're right, they did make this announcement, but the biggest thing I can't seem to understand here with the whole situation with Spider-Man 2 on PC is this. Why is it not optimized? Nixus Software has done an incredible job on the PC versions. They've gotten a lot of praise for pretty much every PC port they've done for a PlayStation game. And Spider-Man 2 is easily, I would say, the biggest one they've done to date because of, again, it's Spider-Man, but it's coming so soon after the PS5 release, 15 months. Why is it such a mess? Why was Sony okay letting that release, knowing that it was such a mess? This to me is the strangest part of the whole situation, because it's like, it just seems like totally unnecessary. You know what I mean? Like, you could have delayed it, given it a little bit more time, market it more, and we would be probably looking at a very different result, or at least a somewhat different result, where rather than peaking at 21,000 players, maybe it would be double. It's really strange, man. I just don't know the logic behind it. Because Sony is deeply mismanaged internally and going through leadership shakeups, it's not that complicated. So you're thinking, well, see, that's the thing, though, right? If it's because they're going through mismanagement and leadership shakeups, then does that mean we can really put that much stock into the blog post that they put out, saying that they're making some of these changes with their approach to PC in terms of the PlayStation Network account and the incentives? You know what I mean? Like, this is where I question, like, what's really going on. I'm not leaning in one direction or the other at this point. I'm just waiting to see what happens next. We do know that The Last of Us is coming. We have Snoopy Poopy again saying, I have PC and PlayStation. I would definitely buy PC version for the frames per second. Yeah, see, that's the thing. If you are somebody who does own a gaming PC, or you play on a gaming PC, and you also have a PS5, I think most of those people would certainly go for the PC version. I forgot to set my super chat goal as well. Well, here's what I do believe, right? I there's only one thing that I feel pretty sure of, and that is that right now Sony is in the process of making an important decision on how they're going to handle their games on PC going forward. And I feel like for the last 5 or so years, they've been kind of playing this kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out type of situation. And I think the time has come, especially now with the change in leadership, where a decision has to be made. You're either going to commit to it and this is it, and you're going to have to make that crystal clear, or you're going to have to walk it back and maybe kind of, again, get more conservative with the way you're running the PlayStation brand and the ecosystem. And I think that right now they may be in the process, or maybe they already did make their decision. We just don't know it yet. But I certainly believe that a decision is going to be made, and it's going to be one of those two things, because I don't imagine they're just going to continue to do it this way. I guess well, to be fair, they could. I guess I'm making it sound like it would be some kind of big problem, but I guess ultimately it wouldn't be. It just seems like Spider-Man 2, again, is such a strange scenario where it's like, what was the rush for Spider-Man? You know, what was the rush? Like, if the rush was we want to maximize sales, it's like, but you didn't market it. And it's kind of broken, or it has a lot of issues. So it's like, what's the rush? Could it be Disney? That's a good question. Yeah, I'd say that's a good question. Maybe that would explain it. That would actually explain why there was a rush. Disney made us. Disney gave us a deadline. I doubt it, though. It would make for a good explanation, but I don't know that Disney would do that. I think Disney would trust Sony in their kind of decision making on this one. Yeah, I don't think they would necessarily try to call the shots here. MBG, it's a quick buck. No need for a polished product. See, that I hope that's not the mentality. If that's the mentality, then Sony should stop doing PC ports. If Sony's mentality is we don't really care, like you're saying, it's just a quick buck, couple of extra bucks. I just think that's, you're doing unnecessary damage to your brand and your games and your studios. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, I guess that's just kind of the mentality I have, where it's like, if you're gonna go to PC, like, do it right, do it well and do it right. Because I do think that people who buy these games on PC, not everybody's pirating it. There are people who are doing it the right way. They're logging in Steam, they're buying the game, they're paying for it, and they deserve a proper polished product for the money they're spending. A lot of people believe that Sony maybe is heading down the road of going day and date with PC, but I'm just not so sure that that's a possibility from a logistic standpoint. I'm not so sure because the games are already taking long enough to be developed for the PlayStation console. These games are taking 4, 5, 6 years to just be made for one console. So if you suddenly mandate, well, you got to have it ready to go for PC as well. Nixus Software is only so big. They can only work on so many games at one time. Most of Sony studios are not well versed enough on the PC side of things to be able to do that effectively and competently. Maybe the last 5 years they've been prepping for it. It's possible. I mean, I think about Naughty Dog. They released The Last of Us on PC. They did it themselves. They said, F it, we'll do it ourselves. And it was horrible. It was a nightmare. And it seemed like it was like a trial by fire crash course. And I just wonder, like, was this so that way in the future, if you are going to go day and date, you have firsthand experience with PC? Maybe. Nick Taylor, member for 17 months, thank you, buddy, says they're probably de-incentivizing people to buy on PC because they don't want PC to have everything, especially now that Xbox games are coming to PS5. I mean, I think the easiest way to de-incentivize, though, would be to just not do it. I did see some, I would say, radical conspiracy theories out there of like some people were saying that Sony did this on purpose, you know? Like they want their game to not be fully optimized on PC, so that way people kind of stay. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. You know, like to me that's just kind of nonsensical. Where it's like, no, like why would they sabotage themselves when all they would have to do is nothing? What about GT7? Well, like I said, the rumor claims that GT7's PC port was canceled and Demon Souls is not coming to PC. And I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. And I don't think anybody, to be clear, I don't think anybody should assume to know for certain what's going on. I do see people, I think, jumping to conclusions and they're like, well, certainly this means Sony is done with PC. And I'm like, no, not necessarily. It might just be a little bit of a rough patch because of a transition in leadership. And you might find in the next 3 to 6 months that actually Sony's about to get way more aggressive on PC. That could very well be what happens. But at the same time, we could end up learning that, yeah, it turns out we are. You know, we are pivoting back, or we're taking a step back. You're saying the fence sitter award goes to, well, I mean, what do you want me to tell you, man? Do you want me to pretend to tell? Do you want me to lie and say I know what's going to happen? Because I don't. And anybody who does, I think, I don't think there's anything wrong with having confidence in yourself. You're just saying yes, just lie. Sony's going back. I'll tell you the sweet lies. Sony's going back. You want the hot takes? All right, here's a hot take for you. Here's a hot take. The fanboys are going to turn out to be right, and Sony's actually abandoning PC, and not Spider-Man 2, but The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered will be the last PC port they do. Is that even a hot take? I don't know. I don't believe that though. That's one of those things where it's like, I'll believe it when I see it, bro. Sony's just spent the last 5 years conditioning people to get used to their games coming to PC over time. You know? Poopy Snoopy again with a super chat says, we always blame sales on pirating, but Elden Ring, Cyberpunk, sell well, Power World 15 million, Terraria has 32 million sales, and that would be the easiest to pirate. That's a good point. That is a good point. And that's why what Sony could be looking at right now is the novelty wearing off. You know, the novelty could be wearing off where, I put out a post on Twitter earlier because I found it kind of shocking. And it was that, dude, Days Gone sold better and did better on PC than Spider-Man 2. And I'm like, there's something really wrong with that. Somebody said that, well, maybe it's because when you look back at 2021, when Days Gone released, it was brand new. It was like, holy shit, here comes the PlayStation games, man. Kind of like what we're seeing now with Xbox games coming to PlayStation. But the reality is, in the next couple of years, it's not going to be news anymore. Or not like, it's the novelty will wear off where it's like, yeah, Xbox is a publisher. They just bring their games to PlayStation now. It's the way it's been for a while. Maybe Days Gone got I don't say an artificial boost because it's not artificial, but that's what boosted its sales. What if Days Gone were to release now on PC? Would it still have sold as well? Maybe not. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, maybe what Sony is beginning to see, maybe what we're beginning to see is that people are not as excited as they once were about the notion of PlayStation games coming to PC because it's kind of just, it's expected now. It's not really new. Just a possibility here. Everything comes full circle, and the PlayStation fans that were clowning Xbox fans about exclusivity are now the ones looking completely out of touch, thinking PlayStation is backtracking on PC. Well, that's why I'm trying to... Well, to be fair, I think the people who are very much hoping or believing, I should say, that Sony's going to backtrack on PC, I think that these were people who never wanted Sony to go to PC in the first place and still, even now, like throughout this whole time, made it clear that they don't want Sony on PC. And I get that. I do, because it's like, it's kind of like when we talk about Nintendo, how when people talk about Nintendo, they're like, oh yeah, Nintendo just does their own thing. And part of their own thing is they don't put their games on PC. Ever. Nintendo doesn't put their games anywhere. Ever. And people are just like, yeah, that's cool. And I just don't understand why, like, some people make it seem like it would be so crazy if Sony were to do that again. And I'm like, well, I don't think it would be crazy. I think it would be a bit surprising, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I just sometimes wonder if Sony were to go back to that way of doing things where it's like, we're going to go back to true exclusives and we're kind of done with the PC experiment and we're just going to make these games locked to our console like Nintendo. I wonder if people would be okay with that and be like, oh, okay, so you're just doing your own thing again. Like they say with Nintendo. I don't think people would be, to be honest. I think people would be like, Sony, what's wrong with you? We hate you. You're going backwards. But to be fair, maybe people can say that because Sony did for the last 5 years just basically send the signal that you can expect our games eventually to come to PC. There's a push and a pull, Chris Brown, you're saying Sony knows the Xbox games are coming. PlayStation is acting comfy. Poopy Snoopy says PC gamers have no loyalties to Sony. It's a factor. And Pugmaster the Supreme says arrogant Sony worries me. Did Sony lose more money on PC than they earned profit? I actually am not sure about that. I'm going to say probably not. I'm going to say they probably did make some profit. Maybe not a large profit, but I don't think they lost money. If they lost money, I think they would have stopped a while ago. Seabass says it makes no difference to me if Sony cashes in on PC ports, so be it. I mean, truly my only worry, and this is my only worry, is, well, really quick, you're saying is Lego Horizon on PC? It is. Lego Horizon launched day one on PC, and it was the worst PC launch for Sony ever. Kind of weird, right? Kind of weird that that's the game they decided to, like, we'll go day one. Halo Infinite for PS5 might be announced today. That's what Zubitech is saying. Bro, that would be, actually, yeah, I guess that it could. Halo and Gears have been registered on PlayStation. Holy shit, dude. Is this really all about to happen at one time? It's like whiplash, man. You think Sony should just release multiplayer games on PC? Maybe that's, well, they could consider that as maybe like the way to go about it, where it's just like, yeah, we're just going to do multiplayer games on PC, but not single player anymore. They could do that. We don't know, man. I wish when Hideaki Nishino was promoted and he takes over, or when he took over, I wish we could get like a statement. I mean, to be fair, the change doesn't go into effect until April 1st, but it would just be nice if we could get some answers. But I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much. Not as much as I think some people believe it does, because, I mean, here's the truth of the matter, you know? Spider-Man 2 has been out on PS5 for the last 15 months, and it's extremely well optimized for the PS5. You know, if you're a PC player, I do kind of feel sorry for you that if you bought this game and you didn't pirate it and you bought it and you're playing it and you're like, man, this is kind of rough, or I'm having some problems. That sucks. And I don't think it should be that way. I think when the PC game launches, you should be like, you should get a great experience, because again, Spider-Man 2, it's a good game in a lot of ways. I think too many people are too hard on it and make it sound like it's some kind of train wreck. It's not a train wreck. It's still a pretty good game overall. In some aspects, a very good game. Absolutely. But, you know, I think people have, you know, it's kind of weird, because it's like, I think it's the Horizon effect is what I call it. The Horizon effect. Sony seems to be suffering greatly from the Horizon effect. I'll describe what I mean in just a moment. Poopy Snoopy says Halo and Gears will barely sell on PlayStation. F that. I can't tell if you're joking or not, Poopy Snoopy. I feel like you're being sarcastic. You have to be. Bro, it's not time. Boss, it's not time yet. We still need 20 more memberships. Okay? If we get 20 more memberships, we'll feed Boss some treats. Titus dropped the first 5. You're saying he has to be because that's objectively a bad opinion. I'm pretty sure Poopy Snoopy is yeah, that has to be because I'm pretty sure they're both going to sell very well on PlayStation. Could you imagine though? Like, could you imagine if Microsoft made this big announcement and they're like, we're bringing Halo and Gears to PlayStation for the first time in its history, and it just like flops? That would be so weird. Like, whoa. Who would have thought that? Seabass, you're saying my cat looks identical to yours? Boss, please stop showing that, man. Will I play Halo? Probably not. No, I've never really been big into Halo. Gears I'll probably play. I've always liked Gears more than Halo. Gaming Survivor, member for 18 months, says, can we appreciate Hiroki Totoki for saving PlayStation? He axed Jim Ryan, restructured everything, and axed games as a service. Absolute legend. Totokism, hell yeah. Yeah, dude, that Hiroki Totoki emoji is very poignant. Yeah, he seemingly cleaned everything up, man. He cleaned everything up. Will Sony continue developing games as a service? I don't think so, dude. Like, what I see Sony doing is still working with Arrowhead and prioritizing their relationship with Arrowhead as a live service studio. And I think they're going to allow Bungie to continue to be a live service studio as best they can. I think outside of that, dude, from what I can tell, I mean, they have Haven Studios, but I don't even really want to talk about them because who even knows what's going on there. So realistically, I think it's Arrowhead and Bungie might be the two live service initiatives going forward. And maybe Guerrilla if the Horizon multiplayer game doesn't get canceled and actually turns out good. Maybe Guerrilla as well. And to be fair, Guerrilla has quite a bit of experience in the multiplayer genre, so they could pull it off. Outside of that, man, I don't think they're really pursuing it that aggressively. I think they're going to keep it, again, conservative is the word that I think best describes how PlayStation is going to be going forward. And I think that applies to the games as a service approach as well. They can't completely abandon it, especially after something like Helldivers 2. It's like you can't have a Helldivers 2 and then just say, now we're doing zero live service anything. It doesn't make any sense, and I think that would concern the shareholders. You know, given the current environment in the gaming industry, that does seem like it would be a mistake. But you just get really conservative with it. That's all. I think that's the better way to do it. Poopy Snoopy, you're saying, jokes aside, can't wait to play Noobs on Halo multiplayer. Yeah, I saw people talking about that and how these games are going to have cross-platform, and we're going to see a situation where you're going to be getting first-time PlayStation players playing Halo. I'm assuming it'll be the Master Chief Collection first, or maybe even Halo Infinite. I don't know, that's what some people are thinking now. And they're going to be playing people on Xbox who've been playing for a long time and probably getting wrecked for a bit. And they're going to have cross-play and I'm assuming cross-communication. And that sounds like it's going to be interesting. Very interesting conversations that might take place there. Some very interesting trash talk. Count Quackula says Nishino equals strong chin / confident Phil equals defeated. I mean, it remains to be seen. Phil Spencer, he has a storied history with Xbox at this point and Microsoft. Hideaki Nishino, he's just starting. You know, as a leader of PlayStation, of the brand, he's just starting. So I'm really interested to see what Hideaki Nishino's PlayStation looks like. Because it might look vastly different than what I imagine, vastly different than what we see now. Or it could look great. Great in the sense that, wow, this guy actually is kind of a huge, like, the thing I wonder about Hideaki Nishino is he like a legitimate PlayStation fan? You know? Because I feel like you see Jim Ryan, kind of like Shuhei Yoshida, you know what I mean? Like Shuhei Yoshida, you knew, like, this guy really gets it. Like, he's actually a genuine fan of not just games, but he has an understanding of what makes the brand great in the eyes of the fans. He understands that. And Shuei Yoshida, you can definitely tell, like, who was in charge during the PS4 era? Shuhei Yoshida. Not surprising. Jim Ryan, people were very concerned about him because he seemingly didn't understand. Like, he understood the basics of just like what makes the brand work and what makes it tick, but he didn't know it on a deeper level. That would be, I guess, again, kind of understanding what do the fans love about it? Can you see it from a fan perspective? I don't think Jim Ryan could see that. I think Jim Ryan just saw it from a business perspective and purely a business perspective. Yeah, Andrew House, Sean Layden as well. Yeah, Sean Layden. Yeah, he was another one that I think people felt like from a fan perspective, he really understood. And that's why I'm curious about Hideaki Nishino, because I don't know. Hideaki Nishino might also be a robot, right? He might just be a suit that has no idea. He doesn't really play games. It's just pure business. Or he could actually, is Hideaki Nishino platinum in games on his PS5 at home? Shuhei Yoshida got the Bloodborne platinum. So, that's the guy. I'll trust that guy to steer the ship for PlayStation. I'm not saying that's the only thing that matters. It's not. But it helps determine my level of confidence. Because, Phil's a gamer too, dude. But, I'm not so sure that it mattered that much at the end of the day. He's playing his Xbox and earning achievements. No way, dude. I see we have Corey Roosh coming in and re-upping his membership, rejoining Greatness Awaits. Corey, thank you so much for that, buddy. Thank you for re-upping your membership. Like I said, we did a Morning with the Misses today. That's exclusive to members. We also did quite a few different Members Lounge episodes or streams throughout the week. So, Corey, make sure you go check those out. Guys, that brings us up to 6 members on the day. 19 more. I believe in you guys. I think we can do it. We can hit the 25 member mark, and we can get this guy fed. He's clearly acting like he's starving. Even though I saw you eating earlier, boss. You can't fool me. We have Snoopy Poopy with another super chat. Thank you for the super chats, buddy. Saying Phil is the Grim Reaper meme knocking on the door to all of the PlayStation CEOs. LOL, dudes outlasted everyone. That is true. That hurts, boss. That is true. Phil has been here since he's been with Microsoft, I think, his entire career for like 30 years or something. But he's been the head of the Xbox brand since 2014. So he really has outlasted everybody. And I don't think that's usual, to be honest. I don't know that that's usual. To be fair, though, he's gotten promoted. Phil got promoted to head of Microsoft Gaming. Are you okay? Did you guys see that? Some strange behavior from boss. Come on, boss. It's getting cat hair all over me. Phil was promoted to head of Microsoft Gaming, and so ultimately I think Sarah Bond was the person who got promoted to take his place. But yeah, man, he's moved up, and he's still the one out here giving interviews, dude. In a way, Phil Spencer really still is the face of the Xbox brand. So, gotta give him credit, I guess, for finding a way to move up the ladder, man. Figuratively literal with another super chat. Ken, Kaz, House, Kodera, Ryan, Nishino. It'll be fascinating to see. Okay, hold on. Bro. I'm trying to do a show over here, boss. I'm sorry about that. Listen, here's what I'm gonna do. Because I gotta tame this beast right now. 6 memberships. That's what we got so far. You're gonna get 6 treats. There. That's it. That's fair. 6 treats is 6 treats. You get the rest if we get the rest of the members. He started chewing my cords. Figuratively literal. Let me try again. Ken, Kaz, House, Kodera, Ryan, Nishino. It'll be fascinating to see how HN does, but he feels like a more platform conservative from Japan. That's the read that people seem to have right now on Hideaki Nishino. The read generally seems to be he's a Japanese businessman, executive that's been working at Sony for many years, that's been working with the PlayStation brand for many years, and he's on the platform side of it. You know, he's been hands-on with the console. He is hugely responsible for the PlayStation Portal. And I'm sure he had a huge say in certain aspects of the PlayStation 5. So because of this, people are kind of looking at it as, yes, he's going to be much more conservative, and we can expect him to, you know, kind of, again, go back to some of the things that PlayStation has done. You know, boss, please don't have to make me remove you from the room, bro. You are being... do you guys see what I have to deal with? He is being so just not cool. Like, it's not even... Okay. Bro just straight up fell. He just dropped, man. See what happens, boss? I tried warning you. I tried warning him. Come on, guys. 19 more members. I know we can do it. Please don't even end boss's suffering, end my suffering at this point. He just wants attention. It's not, he doesn't just want attention. He wants a shit ton of treats. That's what he wants. He wants to get my attention because he thinks I will give him a shit ton of treats if he gets my attention. Boss is like, I'm just being a cat, bro. I mean, listen, I did say this at the end of yesterday's stream, and I think it's worth reiterating here once again. Sony is in a position right now. The PlayStation brand is in a position where they can really experiment on the console side now. Okay? Like on a platform side. Because it's like we established, there's so many things falling in Sony's favor right now without them even having to do anything, that it gives them this kind of wide open opportunity where if they wanted, they could say, like Hideaki Nishino could say as the president of SIE or the CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment right now, which, you know, takes care of PlayStation, he could decide, you know what? We're going to stop putting games on PC. We're going to make all of our games just exclusive to PS5 and PS6 once it comes out. And we're going to really just focus on, if the PS4 sold 115 million units, we're going to push to have the PS5 sell 120 million units. And if we get to 120 million, we're going to push it to try and sell 130. And if we somehow get to that, we're going to push it even further. And we're going to leverage exclusivity once again, like we used to. We're going to leverage things like GTA 6. We're going to leverage the fact that we have our competitors' games now. We're going to leverage our third-party marketing deals. The truth is, Sony could do this and not get hurt. That's the point. I think that's the important point, is it would not hurt them necessarily, per se, to make that decision and see for like the next 3 to 4 years or 5 years even what happens. Let's see what happens. Do we see positive results? Does nothing change? Or do we see negative results? Because we have to understand that almost everything Sony has experimented with, and that's the word I want to focus on here, experimentation. Almost everything they've attempted to experiment with this generation has not worked out for them. The PC experiment is the only one right now that it's still kind of up in the air. We can look at the games as a service experiment and conclude that it was a failure. We can look at the experiment where they tried to put Horizon Forbidden West into PlayStation Plus just 12 months after it launched, and we learned through the leaks, the Insomniac hack, that Sony apparently really regretted that, and it killed their sales momentum. And I'm sure there are many other things that they've experimented with this generation that, they got the valuable data. The data is so valuable. The PC side is really the only side that it seems like it's kind of like what I was asked earlier. Somebody asked the question, did they make a profit on PC or not? Did they lose money on PC? And I'm like, well, they very likely made a profit. That's why they've been doing it for so long. But the question is it enough? Does it make them feel confident about getting more aggressive in this space? That's the question that we don't. I mean, yeah, we have that PlayStation blog post from the other day with the PSN account situation, but that's about it. Poopy Snoopy with a super chat says, Human Fall Flat has announced it's reached 55 million sales. Indie-style games can make big money for very little cost and development. PlayStation should look into that. That is true, man. There are like these indie games. I see them all the time. They just kind of rise up out of nowhere and they become smash hits, making more money than the biggest AAA games. And it costs like just a fraction to develop. Sometimes these games are made by like 2 or 3 people. Human Fall Flat, I've heard of that game though. I haven't played it. Yeah, maybe that's something Sony will consider to a degree anyway. Maybe that's what Media Molecule can do. Something small, truly experimental that seems almost like an indie project. Like it would be an indie project. Figuratively literal, you're saying, I think Ken was CEO from 1993 to 2007. 14 years. Insane. That is a long time. Yeah. It is a very long time. That's a long run. I feel like we don't really see that. We haven't seen something like that for a long time. Pretty much since 2000 pretty much since then. I don't think we've seen something like that with Sony. Who was Kaz Hirai? How long was he in charge? I know he was there for a while. You're saying Nishino has been with Sony since 2000, according to LinkedIn? Okay, you're saying it's just as likely to decide they're putting their games everywhere. Why do PlayStation fans refuse to accept what they're telling you? That you're just not enough anymore. Well, the biggest reason for this, okay, is because I still can't overlook the fact that, dude, the PlayStation console is the source of Sony's success in gaming. The PS5 right now is responsible for all of the money, like basically 99% of the money and profit that Sony has gained from the gaming sector, the gaming division, since it launched. And that's why people are asking the question, how much money did Sony make from PC? I need to get like a cat door or something, man. Cat flap. That's something that I feel like it's really important to focus on that, because I understand that Sony wants more game sales, but I think the reality that they have to deal with, it's the same reality that Microsoft has to deal with, but Microsoft has already made their decision. And that is, listen, there's a really high chance that if you decide to put your games in other places, especially on other consoles, on top of PC, you're going to hurt your console sales. I do not think it's a coincidence that Xbox console sales have literally died. I mean, they literally stopped pretty much after last year, when it basically leaked out that this is what they were doing. From that moment forward, the sales just tanked. They just plummeted. And they've, to a degree where it's not going to recover. And so when you look at the PlayStation side of things, I think Sony has to contend with that reality that if you choose to do that, if you decide we're going to start trying to put our games everywhere, it might, honestly, I mean, I don't know the answer to this. And that's the important thing. And this is why I know people see me as a fence sitter, but I'm just trying to be honest in that I genuinely don't know the answer. I can assume one way or the other, try to give my best guess. But the truth is, if Sony were to say, you know what, we are going to send some games to Switch to, we are going to kind of tear down this wall, and we're going to get even more comfortable on PC, and we are going to start embracing the Switch 2, and this is all in the name of software sales. It's such a high risk, because it's like, you have great momentum with your console. You've made the most amount of money the brand has ever made in the shortest period of time thanks to your console. You might end up jeopardizing your console by doing this. And that's a reality that Sony has to contend with. Like, yeah, you can send Horizon Zero Dawn. Sure, you can send that over to Switch 2, but you're not getting anything from Nintendo. So basically what you're telling a customer, a potential customer, what you're telling them is, listen, hey, Nintendo's not giving us anything. But if you buy a Switch, you can hook that Switch up to your living room TV, and you can buy a copy of Horizon Zero Dawn and Halo and Mario. And you can play all three of those games through your Nintendo Switch on your TV. And you can take it on the go if you want. This is where to me, that's a real concern that Sony, I think, has to have, where it's like, do you really want to risk sending a signal to people, to potential customers, to potential PlayStation buyers, that if you go over there, if you wait long enough, you'll get everything. I mean, everything, even Nintendo stuff. That's why with PC, even with PC, Sony, they've had like this hesitance, They've had this hesitance where they're just like, you could tell they want to break into the PC market. You could tell they want to extract profit from the PC market, but I don't know, man. There's just so many unknown factors. We have Tuck My Sack back. Nice. That's a name, dude. That's a name. He says, hey, MBG, do you know if it is possible to connect a Sony Alpha A6400 to my computer via USB so I can transfer photos? There's about 40 photos and I can't send by email. Thanks. Oh, geez. Tuck, I have no idea, bro. Guys, do we have any... Is anybody in the chat? Can anybody in the chat help him out here? I legitimately have no clue. He's saying that he wants to know if it's possible to connect a Sony Alpha A6400 to his computer via USB so he can transfer photos. I'm just realizing, I don't know. This might be a troll. The closer I look, I'm looking at the username. I'm looking at the photo. I'm looking at the profile picture. It might be a troll. I don't know. It might not be. So I don't know how to take it. It's a camera, memory card reader, USB cord, SD card. Gavin says just try. Yeah, just try. I don't know, man. I don't have any experience in this area. So, talk my sack back. I do appreciate... You know what's interesting? It says it's your third time super chatting. I don't recall getting... I don't recall getting 2 other super chats from you. Maybe I did a long time ago. I don't know. Either way, I appreciate the super chat, man. I do appreciate the support. I'm just sorry I can't really help you out. We have Poopy Snoopy once again saying, news, Sony suddenly has DMCA'd takedown the unofficial Bloodborne 60 FPS patch 4 years after its release. Why now? Possibly an official update. Oh. 4 years after its release. That's the weird part. Irfin's like, MBG, Reddit leaks. Go, go, go. All right, my God. What's going on, man? Tom Warren corroborates Halo and Gears are coming to PS5. Ecstasis says, I can corroborate that Fable and several Xbox games are in development for PlayStation 5 and Switch 2, but I can't confirm that Fable or other games will release day one. Sony has issued a DMCA takedown of a popular unofficial Bloodborne 60 FPS patch 4 years after its release. You know what? Could it be that Sony listened to what I said? Think about it. Think about the timing of this, okay? Sony comes out and they have to acknowledge the report from Jason Schreier. Yes, Blue Point's live service God of War game has been canceled. Apparently, 2 years after the release of Demon Souls. Hold on now. Hold on. So this is fascinating. This is fascinating because think about this for a moment, right? There was a rumor about like a year and a half ago. I wish I could remember where it came from, but I remember it was interesting because, you know, actually, holy shit. I'm seeing things kind of coming together in my mind. And I feel like I'm piecing certain things together. All right, here we go. Demon Souls remake releases. Sony, not too long after, acquires Bluepoint. One of the more interesting things we learned about Bluepoint Games and their development of this live service God of War game is that for about like there was like almost a year and a half or so, maybe close to 2 years potentially, after Demon Souls shipped, there was just like a large chunk of time where they apparently weren't doing anything. Now I find that hard to believe. It's like I doubt they weren't doing anything. But what we know is they only had 2 years of development time on God of War live service. So that would mean it began development in 2023, early 2023. So yeah, if we look at this timeline, Demon Souls PS5 2020 launch, not too long after Sony acquires Bluepoint. So we have 2021 and 2022, 2 years where they basically, there's a question mark on what they were doing for those 2 years. Now, there were 2 rumors regarding Bluepoint Games and Bloodborne. The first, I believe, was from Colin Moriarty. And he says that he was wrong about it, but maybe maybe he wasn't, because he said the source he heard it from was like a good source that he trusted. He said that Bluepoint was working on a Bloodborne remake, and then they were going to work on Bloodborne 2 after that. And then we just never heard anything. Now, flash forward, I don't know. Okay, all right. You're saying Jason Schreier. All right, hold on. Maybe that pokes a giant hole in what I'm saying. You're saying Jason Schreier said from 2020 to 2022 they assisted on God of War Ragnarok. Okay. All right. Yeah, I guess that would explain why they would go for a God of War live service. Well, I'm just pointing this out because I remember that rumor about Bluepoint working on something Bloodborne related. But then there was another rumor that came out like a while after that. I think this rumor came out sometime in 2023 where there was a report that claimed something Bloodborne, there was a Bloodborne remake in development, but Sony decided for whatever reason to stop. Like to just kind of scrap it. And no reason as to why was given. And that to me is just, I'm just thinking about this stuff where it's like, now we're hearing that right after this change in leadership, this 60 FPS patch, this unofficial 60 FPS patch suddenly gets DMCA'd 4 years later at the exact same time there's a change in leadership. I said like a week ago when we heard that Bluepoint's live service God of War game was canceled, I said, here's what you do. It's really easy. Bluepoint, start work on a Bloodborne remake. That's it. That's the play. That's the only play. That's the smartest play. That's what you do next. It's right there. You know? It's highlighted. It's glowing. Do you think that that's exactly what they decided? Your God of War live service game is canceled. What should we do now? What should we pitch to Sony? I got it. Let's remake Bloodborne. Okay. Well, first things first, take down that unofficial 60 FPS patch. Spider-Man 2 PC already has near 300,000 pirated peers in one tracker. Holy shit. Dude, that's bad. $300K copies pirated? The unofficial patch only started working recently. Oh, okay. Okay, Joseph, thank you for clarifying. See, I didn't know that either. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, because I was wondering, I'm like, man, I'm really shocked Sony didn't take that down sooner. Maybe that, okay. That makes sense. Well, if anybody had any questions as to whether or not Sony was planning on doing something with Bloodborne, this is the answer. The answer is yes, they absolutely are planning on doing something with Bloodborne. At least that seems clear to me. Why else would they take it down? Poopy Snoopy, you're saying Bloodborne has just recently been fully ported to PC unofficially. It's a praised port, had a few news articles, could just be Sony cracking down on that. Okay, yeah. All right. Yeah, I really thought I was on to something here. But as is usually the case, I just started to kind of become delusional about my with my fantasies. No, that actually makes sense. When I read that, I was under the impression that it was out for the last 4 years, which actually, yeah, I should have figured that out sooner, because it's like, if that was true, then why are so many people still asking for it? Asking for a patch. In the spirit of Gene Wilder to PC players, you get nothing. Didn't they flat out say they wouldn't touch Bloodborne unless it was a generational difference? I don't think so. I don't think they confirmed that. But Poopy Snoopy, I will say, I think that's actually, yeah, that's probably what this is. Sony was aware that this was being worked on. They were just kind of waiting. And like the moment it drops, banhammer, get it out of here. Which kind of sucks, but I mean, that's the risk, man. That's the risk that the communities of gamers that do this type of stuff, this unofficial stuff. I don't understand. Like, I appreciate the passion, and I understand that they're very passionate, but I don't understand how you could do it and not realize, like, they're gonna probably not let you release this, right? They're probably gonna take it down. And I just am not sure that it's worth the effort, knowing that you're just going to get crushed, I wouldn't, like, if that was me, I would have definitely thought, like, Sony's not going to let me put out a 60 FPS version of Bloodborne. They're not going to let me do that. It will live forever on torrents, will it? Okay. I didn't know that. I thought once it was taken down, that's it. It's gone for good. Nobody can touch it. So I guess Sony was kind of just like waiting there as quick, like, to just take it down as quickly as they can. Well, what's interesting is I went over to the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, and man, that it's blowing up with just so many. Like, it's so obvious that Microsoft is just communicating with these different sources, or these different journalists or insiders. It's very obvious that Microsoft is feeding them info to put it out there. So when it happens, people, well, you know what though? Hold on. If that was true, I feel like somebody would have said something about Forza a lot sooner, or in the last week or two. Nobody said anything about Forza, but next thing you know, MBG is going to get a leak in his email. Yeah. What are people saying about this taking down of the Bloodborne? Have we heard anything regarding an upcoming state of play? Nothing yet, except for we heard it's going to happen in February. Ecstasis says, and just to clarify, Ecstasis was as far as I'm aware, the only one that leaked Forza Horizon 5 coming to PS5, and he was correct. A lot of people thought he was wrong. He was correct. He says, I can talk about Gears Collection, because Gears Collection has cost me a lot to corroborate its existence, but it seems that it does exist, and I can confirm that at the moment, it seems like this is translated. At the moment in which Gears Collection is announced, which I don't know when exactly it will be announced as multi-platform day one. I repeat again, when these kinds of remasters are announced, remasters of the old Gears games, they're going to be cross-platform and cross-platform simultaneously. The only thing I haven't been able to confirm is the launch of a Switch version, but it can be played cross-platform on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. Well, there you go, man. That's the same person who leaked Forza Horizon 5. So, Poopy Snoopy, you're saying, what is there to say? We know everything is coming. Yeah, I mean that's the truth, man. Like, I think really the only other question, and this might be the last question that remains. Hold on. Come on, boss. The last question that remains is what new games can we expect to be day one on PS5? Now, I think the assumption from most people is all games. You know? Yeah, like apparently Fable will be. Will Gears of War E-Day? I mean, if a Gears collection is going to be day one, then you would assume Gears of War E-Day will be as well. State of Decay 3? I hope so. That'd be great. But yeah, I think like Perfect Dark, I'm assuming that would be day one. And check this out. There's a report here. PlayStation is behind 64% of the spending on Microsoft games last month. It seems this shift in strategy for Microsoft is paying off, as the company was the top games publisher in the world last month with $465 million spent on their games. This is partially thanks to PlayStation, which was responsible for 64% of consumer spending on Microsoft games in December. So it's like, well, there you go, man. No wonder why. Dude, no wonder why they're like, chop, chop. Come on. Get him spooled up. Get him ready to go, because that's, dude, 64%. That's more than half. That's 11% away from being 3/4 of all spending. That's 11% away, dude. That's nuts. That's nuts. So, you know, if you're Microsoft, you're seeing dollar signs, dude. And how could you not? Yet their revenue is down. Yeah, that I can't figure. I'm not sure what's going on there. MBG, how is Bluepoint going to remake Bloodborne? Bluepoint was mostly a support studio on Demon's Souls remake. The director, producer, designer, programmer were all from Japan Studio. It's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if maybe, man, I hope this doesn't happen, but do they just become a support studio? Oh man, that would be so disheartening. That would be so disheartening. I hope not, man. Because that is, yeah, I didn't think about that. You're right. They kind of did work with Japan Studio, I think, on the Demon's Souls remake. And Japan Studio worked on Bloodborne. And Japan Studio no longer exists. By the way, guys, if you haven't already, please take a moment and hit that like button for me. If you're enjoying the stream and you're enjoying hanging out with me here and you want to help the stream out, hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Poopy Snoopy, you're saying confirmed PlayStation is an Xbox. I mean, yeah. Listen, man, my whole thing at this point, physical releases. Microsoft, I'm telling you, you release these games physically, I'm going to buy them. I might not even play all of them, but I'll buy them. I want to have them for my physical game collection. So I really hope that, like this Gears of War collection, Halo, the Master Chief collection, Forza Horizon 5, I hope these games get physical releases because I would gladly buy them and add them to my collection. I would be so disappointed if they're digital only. We have Figuratively Literal with a super chat saying, Ecstasis mentioned the canceled PC ports, citing the Ooze/Returnal leaker. Don't know how much credibility that adds, but he must have some confidence. Interesting. Did he, Figuratively Literal, you're saying he mentioned the canceled ports. Did he say, he's heard something similar, or did he add anything to it, or is he just is just acknowledging it? Just yeah, I heard about this. I saw that this was going around. Because I don't know, man. I've been kind of waiting to get some. Ever since we heard about that yesterday, I'm kind of waiting for another source to come out and corroborate it and basically confirm that, yeah, Sony. Maybe I would like to get somebody like a Jeff Grubb or a Jason Schreier to kind of come out and get more solid info. Yeah, these PC ports were canceled, and here's why. They were canceled because they're just moving on to other PC ports, or they were canceled because they're considering maybe shifting their strategy now. That's really what I would want to know. Starscream 3117 with a super chat says, Phil was correct when he said they lost the most important generation. I have an Xbox and always wanted to play Forza Horizon 5, but never cared to play there. I will be getting it day one now on PS5. I'm so hyped. Yeah, man, I do think that these games are likely to do well on PlayStation. I mean, Forza Horizon 5, like I said, I played. You know what's funny? I saw somebody leave a comment on my video today, and it did make me chuckle a little bit. And they were like, well, Forza Horizon 1 through 4 is still Xbox exclusive. And I'm like, okay. I mean, yeah, that's true. It's pretty funny. I get it. I see Jim Ryan in the chat. IBG, they revealed why they got canceled on their Discord. Icon era? I don't use Discord. Jim, do you know? Jimmy boy, do you know why it was canceled? But yeah, man, Forza Horizon 5 on PS5 I think is going to sell very well. I think that a lot of people on PlayStation actually, truthfully, I think they were hoping that either something like this would happen one day, like we would get some kind of Forza Horizon game from Sony or somebody else, or just get Forza Horizon itself. And here we are. We're going to get Forza Horizon. And I've played the Forza Horizon games. And like I said, man, they're amazing games. They're very good. And they're really fun. They're really fun games. So I'm hyped too, man. I think it's cool. It's really cool to see this, I'm not necessarily ecstatic about every Xbox game that they have in development or every Microsoft game that's in development. There are quite a few games where I'm either on the fence about or maybe just not that interested in. But at the same time, because they have so many different studios, they have so many different games, there are plenty of games that I'm also like, yeah, dude, that's cool. I'll play that on my PS5. I'm looking forward to it. Again, we just need some physical versions. Jim Ryan, you're saying Demon Souls had a crappy engine, apparently. They wanted to release it on PS4 as well, but they couldn't get it to run. They also said that GT7 is not coming because they are focused on GT8 now. Okay, so if that's true, I actually really appreciate you adding that context, because that definitely, see, this is what I mean. If that's true, that does not seem to indicate a shift in strategy away from PC. If they're not doing GT7, it's because they're too busy working on GT8. And the Demon Souls situation, somebody said Halo is coming today and that PC ports are still coming. Okay. Well, I think Sony, if Sony's going to continue down the road of PC ports, I think they need to be a little bit more careful. Like, because I just still can't wrap my head around the Spider-Man 2 situation. It's too messy, man. You got to have a better marketing cycle. The game's got to be better optimized. You got to give like, if Nixus is working on it, you got to give them more time to I'm not even a PC player, and I'm saying this. It's just, look, if Sony's going to put their games on PC, I would like to see them do well, so they can make more money off of them, so we can continue to get more of those games. If that's why Sony's doing it, because they really do want that money, or they feel like they need that money, then they need to be more careful with it, and not, because, PC is a place where they can also risk damaging their reputation. Jim Lying Ryan, Nixus is working on God of War. What do you mean by that? God of War Ragnarok already came out on PC. Maybe the older games? Oh, the God of War collection that leaked. Ooh. That would be. They have 6 projects. That's a lot, dude. How many developers are at Nixus? That is a lot. It says 82 on pitchbook.com. 82 total employees. That's not. I mean, I guess for a port studio, I guess that's a good amount, right? They must be really, really efficient. Well, I don't know, though. They might be stretched too thin, dude. If the Spider-Man 2 PC port is anything to go by, they might be stretched too thin. Maybe they got to take on less of a load here. Reminder that God of War ports were made by groups of 3 people. Well, see, this is why I said earlier, again, we have to take all this with a grain of salt, because there's no way to prove it. But if the added context that we're getting here turns out to be true, that, listen, GT7, its PC port being canceled, and, Demon Souls not coming to PS4, it has nothing to do with them moving away from PC. This is why I was trying to tell people earlier, like, we can't assume to know. We can't. You can if you want, but I just don't think it's wise until we get all of the information, or more information, or just see how it plays out. Because if you're somebody who is feeling extremely confident that Hideaki Nishino was promoted to president of SIE and CEO of SIE, he's going to right the ship by making sure they stop putting games on PC. I mean, again, this added context seems to indicate that, no, dude, they're not stopping anything. So they're moving away from ports onto remasters, but yeah, too stretched. Jim Ryan coming in with the good info, bro. Oh, by the way, I had to say something earlier. I meant to say something earlier. I alluded to it, but I never actually explained it. I said Spider-Man 2 is suffering from the Horizon effect. Kind of. Well, no. I don't know if I should call it the Horizon effect. I have to think of a different name, but I feel like people kind of treat Spider-Man 2 like it's really just a truly bad video game. Like it's just garbage. And I'm like, listen, I think the first game was better in a few different ways, but I also think the people who make it sound like Spider-Man 2, I'm not even trying to defend it. I'm just saying, like, it's not garbage. It's far from garbage. It's not, it has its weaknesses. It has its weak points for sure. And I see that as well. But it reminds me of Horizon a little bit, where it's like, dude, over the last not just couple of days, but for a while now, people kind of have this attitude where, like, yeah, Horizon sucks. Like, Horizon's such a bad video game. It's a bad game, man. But, like, the weirdest thing is people are saying it about Horizon Zero Dawn. And that, to me, is the weirdest part, where I'm like, dude, people loved Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what happened? What happened, man? And that, to me, is where it gets kind of strange. I call it the Horizon effect, because it's like everybody just kind of decided, you know what, actually, we hate this game. Like, wait a minute. Horizon sucks. It's kind of funny in a way. You're saying they want to bring their PS1, PS2, and PSP games to Steam? That's interesting, but maybe not that surprising. Yeah, they do have an extensive back catalog of older games that I think some of them could do well on Steam. You're saying, by the way, this PS Plus info is more of an exclusive for you? Uh-oh. So I'll have it before journalists do? I mean, I'm going to take it with a pinch of salt, man. I don't even know who you are. I mean, you just say, it's like it's really Jim Ryan in the chat. I mean, sure. Shoot, man. You're saying they said that Sony is in talks with Valve to bring PS Plus to Steam. They want to make a new tier with classic games and game trials. They are bringing their emulated games to PC now. Very, very interesting if true. I mean, I will say this. What kind of maybe backs up what you're saying here just a little bit is that during December of 2023, when Insomniac got breached and hacked, one of the slides was showing future plans for PlayStation Plus and how they were planning. Sony apparently was planning, or is planning, to expand PlayStation Plus beyond the console into different places. So that is fascinating. Sony wants more PS Plus and PSN users. That's the focus now. Very interesting. Maybe not that surprising in a way. It just makes me wonder where the console stands in all of this, you know? Yeah, I mean, I believe a lot of this just because it's like, yeah, I feel like I kind of get that vibe from Sony. They have this ambition. They really want to start focusing more on growing the user base. I think it's clear they want to do more with PlayStation Network accounts. Like, they want to get more people signed up. I think that's why they were so aggressive in the way that they introduced it on PC. And now they're kind of like easing up on it a bit, or trying to find that compromise, that middle ground. We got the real Jim Ryan in the chat. No way. Poopy Snoopy with a super chat saying PC and Switch looking more like the places to be. See, the thing about it though, man, is like we cannot listen. The only thing that makes me believe Sony could get way more aggressive in expanding outside of the console, like much more quickly. The one thing that makes me think that might be on the horizon, no pun intended, is the fact that the PlayStation 6 is looking like it's going to be a mighty expensive console. You know, there's no, especially we talk about potential tariffs. We discussed that briefly, but you know, if there's a 25% tariff now on every console coming into the US, that's going to be passed on to the consumer. That's going to make it even more expensive. So it's like, if this is what Sony is seeing down the pipeline for the next 2 to 3 years, that absolutely could be a massive motivator to be like, you know what? We're going to have to open our floodgates a little bit, you know, and really start expanding in our own way. So, yeah, I mean that's why I'm not willing to plant my flag and say this is what Sony's going to do. I know it, or this is what I think they should do, because the reality is, like, what I want them to do versus what they will do, very different things. You know, if I were in charge of PlayStation and if I were to make decisions where it's like, guys, we're going to triple down on the console. All right. We're going to triple down on it. We're going back to the golden age. You know, we're going to do it the way we did it with the PS4. I want to really focus on PlayStation sales. I want to see if we can get up to 120, 130 million units sold. And it's like, MBG, sir, that's great and all, but here's how much the PlayStation 6 is projected to cost right now. And I look at it and it's like, can we just sell it at a loss? It's like, no, it's too dangerous. It's not financially viable. Okay. Can we make it weaker? Like, can we get the cost down? It's like, well, if we do that, it's going to be too close to what the PS5 Pro currently is, or even the PS5, right? It's like, okay, well, shit. So do I take the risk, right? Do you take the risk where it's like, this console is going to be very expensive? There's no way around that. What do you do? You know, what do you do at that point? I mean, this is why I'm not completely pushing back against the notion that Sony could end up, like I said, under this new leadership at PlayStation. This could be the beginning of them. Like, we are going to start really changing things, like, way more rapidly than even what you saw with Jim Ryan. And it all hinges on their expectations for the console market entering the PlayStation 6. A lot of people are saying that Halo Infinite might be announced today. Halo and Gears have been registered on the PSN backend. Well, let me see. What time is this Halo? So it said 1 p.m. PST. Just give me a moment here. So that's at 4:00 for me. Damn. I wish I'd known sooner that this was happening. Because it says it's going to be like a... If Halo Infinite came to PlayStation, I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't play it. But, man, that would be huge. Hold on, really quick. Trump administration mandates pronoun removal in federal emails. Damn, a lot's going on. Lots going on in the world right now, man. We're getting Halo on PlayStation apparently, and and pronoun removal from federal emails. Wish I had $1 for every time MBG said he doesn't care about Halo. We get it. You don't like Xbox's best exclusive. I know. Well, I'm not trying to like overemphasize it. I just feel like I kind of have to because I deal with people that say to me like, "Oh, I guess you're excited for their games now that you can play them on PlayStation." And I'm like, "The games I've always been interested in, yes, you know, for sure." I mean, look, I might be a little bit more open, but we'll have to see. MBG, I just checked it, and Icon Era leaked, dropped an hour before Zubitech posted about the back end. It's legitimate. That's going to be really crazy, dude. If by the end of today, Halo has announced it's coming to PlayStation. Just because, dude, yesterday it was Horizon. Like that's a crazy rollout. Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out. I guess in a couple of hours. Man, that's wild. This is just so crazy to me. Like, it's all happening so quick. You bet they shadow dropped the multiplayer for Infinite and then you can purchase the Master Chief Collection. Ooh. Oh man, that would be nuts. I'm telling you, a shadow drop would be nuts, bro. That would be insanity. That would be insanity. It just feels so random in a way, though, you know, like Friday night. Here you go, guys. Halo on PlayStation. Just like that. It's just the casual nature of it, I think, is what would be surprising. Vandal, I don't know who this is. Vandal is one of the it's one of the larger Spanish video game sites. Apparently, Starfield, Fable, and Microsoft Flight Simulator will release on PS5 and Switch 2. According to their sources, Fable and Killer Instinct will be day one on PS5. I guess there's a new Killer Instinct. Icon Era is being oh, here we go. Yeah, I see it on the Gaming Leaks Rumor subreddit. Icon Era Halo Infinite is going to PlayStation 5 according to sources. Sources close to Icon Era have said that a PS5 version of Halo Infinite is in the works at Microsoft, with a fully playable PS5 build being shown around 6 months ago. Despite having chances of being revealed at the Halo Spring Community Update today, no specific date was given. No word on Halo the Master Chief Collection was given either. Hold on. Well, I guess I guess I guess this is the way Microsoft's going to do it. They're just going to kind of come out and roll out the games. Like they're not really going to hype it up. They're not going to I mean, I guess for older games, you know, games that have been out for a little bit, they're not really going to show them at events or spend too much time on it. It just seems like they're just going to do it. And I kind of think that's cool, actually. That's a pretty cool way to do it. Just like, here it is. Enjoy. Wish list, pre order. Saying Xbox is just a thing of the past. Boss. Boss. Boss? No. 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 Okay. What games did I play on Xbox? I did play Gears. I played Gears. Left 4 Dead was like one of the biggest games. Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 were some of my favorite games I played on Xbox. State of Decay. I did play Sea of Thieves when that came out, by the way. Wasn't too impressed with that. I was actually kind of disappointed in it. I have played Halo. Just not too much of it. Like I just couldn't get into it. I don't know why. Is Avowed also coming? As of right now, there's no word on Avowed. Yet they say they're still in the hardware business moving forward. I mean, yeah. Yeah, Microsoft is really truly taking the approach of we're a multi-platform publisher and our games are going to go everywhere. And anywhere you are, you can buy our games. But we also sell hardware. And if you want to buy that hardware, go ahead. And you do have to wonder, sincerely, you have to wonder, is that the future model? Is it the future model? It could be, but I still feel like exclusivity will be a thing for other platform holders to some degree. To some degree. I would be a little bit surprised if that's the future for all platform holders. I just think for Microsoft, they've been willing to give it up because they're like, well, there's not really much of a future for the Xbox platform in terms of being the most viable platform. It'll be a platform, it'll be there, but I think that they've kind of accepted, like, you're not going to be number 1 or number 2 in terms of platform, but you can be maybe number 1 in publishing. And so you're kind of trading one thing for another, if you think about it. But maybe that trade is really easy for Microsoft because it's like, well, it's not like we really had that much anyway. So why not? We have a masochist mode with a $5 super chat saying Spider-Man 2 isn't a bad game. It's actually a good game. It's also incredibly disappointing when you realize that what it could have been. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, masochist mode. I agree with that. I don't think it's a bad game. I think it is a good game, but there's definitely certain weak points of Spider-Man 2 that it's kind of, I think you worded it really well. Like when you realize what it could have been, you can't help but kind of feel a little bit more disappointed. Like, damn. And, hopefully we don't feel the same way about Spider-Man 3. Hopefully Spider-Man 3, when it comes out, it's like we play it and it's like, wow, dude, that was like easily the best Spider-Man game so far. Hands down. Better than Spider-Man 1 and 2. It'll be really interesting to see what happens with Spider-Man 3, just because Spider-Man 3, this is going to be a game that's developed with new leadership at Insomniac. I got like a beard hair going crazy there. It's going to be the first game with the new 3 co-CEOs, I guess, which is kind of crazy to think about at Insomniac. The traversal is great in Spider-Man 2. It is, yeah. It really is. Poopy Snoopy, you're saying Avowed has a 30, 40, and 60 FPS mode. Does it? I could have swore there were reports that said Avowed was going to be locked at 30 frames. If that's true, though, that's good. I'm sure people who are going to play Avowed are going to be excited for that. I'm assuming that's for the console version. The leak for Spider-Man 3 is that it would have 3 protagonists. See, I don't know that that's the way to go, man. You know, I feel like that's where things get a little bit too convoluted potentially. Maybe they can make it work. Oh, Bloodborne 2 was just announced? Oh, damn. At this point, who knows, right? That's true. GTA 5 had 3, but that's difficult to pull off, I think. Supremacy 101 with a super chat says MBG Xbox hardware is only made because of Game Pass subs on it. Hmm. Yeah. I think actually that might be it, because there are Xbox buyers who have a digital library, but probably not that many. I mean, we have to remember that Microsoft has been pushing Game Pass since like 2016 and 17. So they were pushing Game Pass hard even last generation. And so that's a long time. That's a lot of years of basically telling people, like, rather than buy your games, just subscribe. And I think you're right. A lot of people do buy their games, or they do play their games through a Game Pass subscription through their console. Now, granted, maybe they do buy games as well. I think Game Pass and the few, I don't know. That's a question that I think is worth asking. If if there are, let's say, was there like 30 million Xboxes out there right now? 30 million Xbox Series X and S consoles combined. How many of out of that 30 million have like an extensive, robust digital library versus how many have a small library, a medium to small library of digital games, and are subscribed to Game Pass and play most of their games through Game Pass? Now, obviously, Microsoft is the only one with that data, but either way, they've determined that there's enough there that they want to continue to make hardware. And it makes sense. I don't think Microsoft's play here, I think it's important because people are kind of saying like, oh, it's a Dreamcast situation and whatnot. It is different. It is different. Microsoft's play here is not to leave anything, but to just do more things. And yes, it will call into question, like, what's the point? But if Microsoft just says the point is we're just going to do it because we want to, we have our own reasons, then I guess that's good enough, right? I mean, they'll tell you because we want to continue to support hardware. We want to support the console. We want to support the console user base. Sure. But the real reason, they'll probably just keep that to themselves, you know? Like, they're not going to come out and say, hey, guys, we were going to stop making consoles, but we're not going to because there's still too many people subscribed to Game Pass on our console. It's not, it's too dangerous. They're not going to say that, even though we all know that, like, that's probably the reason. But it's fine. It's like, okay, cool. If you're somebody who's excited about console hardware from Microsoft, you got something to look forward to. Supremacy 101 with some super chats says, where else can you get Game Pass? PC now. PC, and how are those numbers? And then you say 36% of Xbox/PC sales combined to 64% on PlayStation. Do the math. Yeah, true. That's true. Yeah, I guess when you look at it that way, it might be much smaller than we realize, or that I'm realizing. Well, I mean, what do you think would lead to Microsoft truly abandoning and being done with hardware? Like, we're not making another Xbox console. What do you think it would take for that to happen? I don't think they're going to stop, Because you know what I think? I think even if, let's say it gets to a point where there's only 5 million people on the planet, 5 million people who are willing to buy the next Xbox console. I think they're still going to release it, but they're going to make sure that every unit sold, those 5 million units, make a profit. We're going to sell it for a profit. It'll be powerful. It'll be expensive. We'll make money off of it. And that's it. And that's what we'll do. And we'll update them, you know. It reminds me of like Windows Phone a little bit. Microsoft really tried to support Windows Phone for a long time. And Microsoft got to a point where they had less than 1% market share. They had less than 1% market share, and they were still trying to support Windows Phone and still trying to release premium Windows phones and really kind of gain market share. And it just kept shrinking more and more and more until it basically got to zero. And they were just like, we just can't do this. We have no market share. There's nobody to sell these phones to, you know? And then they finally let it go. And I think that they'll take the same approach with Xbox until it gets to a point where it's like we have less than 2% market share, less than 1%. I think that's what it will take. Saying Satya said killing Windows Phone was his worst mistake. They would have still been in third today. Well, there you go. Maybe that's even more of an indication that they're not going to do that. And Supremacy 101 says they have and are taking measures, profit margins. Well, it's going to be very interesting, dude. I suspected that a lot was going to change. I suspected this last year. I had a feeling all throughout 2024 that things are going to change, and we're just seeing the very beginning of it. And now I think going into 2025, seeing what's going on, I think we're starting to kind of realize that those changes are happening, and they're happening pretty quicker than maybe we thought. And those changes, I think there's going to be big changes for PlayStation 2. I do. By the way, guys, do me a favor if you haven't already, and please hit that like button to help the stream out. I'd really appreciate that. Let's see here. Well, I do think that Sony is going to kind of wait and watch with what Microsoft's doing. I think Sony is going to be paying very close attention to how people respond to the next Xbox, right? Knowing that Microsoft is putting all their games on PlayStation. I think that Sony's going to be paying close attention to how well Microsoft's games sell on Switch. I think that's a big thing Sony's going to pay close attention to. I think Sony's obviously going to continue to pay attention to how their games are doing on PC, but one thing that we do know about Sony is that they also want growth, man. They do want growth. They want to expand their IP. They do want to go beyond the console, whether people want to accept that or not. They do, and they are, and they will. And it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It really will only be a bad thing if they do it at the expense of the console itself and what the fans, expect from the brand as a whole. And so you're saying you don't know why, though? I think it's because, like, Sony wants... I've said this for a long time, and it still remains true. They want the best of both worlds, dude. Sony wants to live in a world where they can put their games on Switch, they can put their games on PC, and they can expand PlayStation Plus, and they can basically just go to all these different places and find new customers while still selling 100 million consoles. That's what Sony wants. while still selling 20 million copies of God of War on the PlayStation console. That's what Sony wants. And nobody has the answer. Can you do both of these things? Even Microsoft will not give you that answer. So for as much as Sony may pay attention to the changes and the decisions that Microsoft is making, Sony won't know, dude, because Microsoft has given up. Microsoft knows that they're not going to get they're not even going to get to 40 million consoles sold this gen, dude. Microsoft knows that when they release the next Xbox console, it will probably struggle to even get to 20 million. Maybe even less. And they're okay with that because Microsoft is not worried about selling the most amount of consoles. They're not worried about that part of their ecosystem. It's just purely supplemental. It started as the priority, and it's gotten to a point where now it's just purely supplemental and you know, just kind of on the back burner, not going anywhere. PlayStation is in the opposite boat, man. As I said earlier, PlayStation is making the overwhelming majority of their money from PlayStation consoles. And so they can't risk making decisions that are going to erode that. So if Sony were to announce, hey, we're bringing a few more games to Switch 2 on top of the games we're bringing to PC, what does that do for PS5 console sales? Suddenly, hey, your console sales dropped by like 30% that quarter, the quarter after you made that announcement. What does that tell you? So are we losing sales now on our consoles? Maybe. But that's the crazy thing is we don't know. We just don't know. We can assume. We can assume that, yes, their sales will drop, but what if they don't? People are going to assume that Sony's sales of their console will drop dramatically if they make these decisions based on what we're seeing from Xbox. But something we have to acknowledge with the reality of Xbox is, dude, let's say Microsoft, it's such a hard scenario to run. It seems like the Xbox console was destined to not do well no matter what this generation. That's what I'm trying to say. It seems like it wouldn't have mattered if they made stuff exclusive or not. It just wasn't going to catch up to PlayStation. It wasn't going to catch up to Switch. It may have done a little bit better, but it ultimately would still fall short. And you cannot make a $75 billion investment to just see decent growth or okay growth. No, you don't. That's not how that works. So I think the reality is the Xbox console was always going to do poorly, and maybe the PlayStation 5 was always going to do well just based off of the inertia of the PS4. So when you consider this, we just have to basically ask ourselves this question. If Sony were to go day and date on PC, they were to expand PlayStation Plus, and they were to start bringing a lot of their games, not all of their games, but a lot of their games to Switch 2. What does that do for PS5 sales? Does Sony still sell 100 million units? Do they still sell 100 million units? Do they still sell 80 million? These are the questions that Sony is, I believe, if they're not pivoting in the opposite direction and they're not walking things back and becoming more conservative, if they're like, we're going to be the opposite of conservative now, which they might, if they do this, you know, there's no answer to that question, dude. That's a coin flip. And somebody's got to find out. Somebody's going to find out. And I think Sony's going to be the one to find out. And I think it's going to be a really interesting thing where, like, let's imagine this. You think that's a winning strategy for Sony in your opinion? I mean, that's the thing, man. What if Sony were to do all this And then we find out that, yeah, we're still selling just as many. Like, our console's still doing great. We're still on the road to hitting 90 million, 100 million. Like, what do we say? What do people say then? You get what I mean? You get what I'm saying? Like, is that what it will take for people to kind of look at each other and be like, I guess this is fine. I guess everything's fine. If I'm not happy on console, I go to PC. If I'm not happy with PC, I just stay on console. I can buy a game from Sony on Switch, I guess, if I want. Like, I don't know. But maybe the opposite happens. Maybe Sony does this and it's like panic mode. Like, holy shit, I think we just killed our console. It's possible, man. It's a possibility, because it's like we just sent more people to PC, we just sent more people to Switch, and now less people are buying PlayStations, and that will hurt Sony. Straight up. They need to thread a very specific needle if they're going in that direction. They have to thread that needle, but they have to do it blindly, because there's no answer, dude. There's no answer. You cannot look at Microsoft and assume that what's happening to them is what will happen to you, because two very different situations. You can't look at Nintendo because, well, the answer's clear cut. If you're not making a hybrid console, then you can't compare yourself to what Nintendo's doing. So Sony's kind of out here alone, man, where it's like they got to figure their shit out on their own. And there's likely going to be some fuck around, find out energy going on with them. And and it'll be really interesting. It'll be really I really think if I had to, gun to head, I got to make a decision. Do I think Sony, under the new leadership with Hideaki Nishino and Hiroki Totoki, do I think they're going to kind of turn around and be more conservative and be more, kind of go back to what we're seeing with the PS4 and every console generation prior? Or do I think that they're actually going to take what's already established and take it even further and push the envelope even further? If it was gun to head, I'm going to say they're going to push it further. That's my most just instinctive gut reaction. I think there's still a chance they could get more conservative, but because I still consider the comfort factor. But we have to ask, is the comfort factor enough to satiate the growth ambition? Probably not. Maybe. It depends on who's running the ship. When we have a man like Hiroki Totoki who says, I'm obsessed with growth, I'm going to say probably not going to be satiated. No matter how comfortable they are, I don't think they're going to be like, yeah, we'll just sit back and chill. We'll take that passive income. We have a Moonshot with some direct donations. Thank you, Moonshot, saying Sony has no reason to launch the PlayStation 6 in 2027. If Xbox launches their next-gen console early, they would still need to support the base PS5 install base. Thinking about it, it's probably in Sony's best interest to stall the launch of the PS6. To be honest, what's their rush, especially with the first-party delays? It's a very interesting take there, and an interesting read on that, Moonshot. And yeah, I mean, when you consider that the next generation Xbox is rumored to be coming out in 2026, by that point, it would seem like every Microsoft game is going to launch day and date on PlayStation 5 as well, and likely be PS5 Pro supported. Yeah, I don't think that console is much of a threat at all. But I guess the only other question at that point is how does Sony benefit by waiting? I mean, I guess they could offer a powerful console, a more powerful console, maybe at a cheaper price point, potentially. Companies need to give up on limitless growth. It's a dead end. Growth means death sometimes. If Sony's trying to be like Microsoft, they lose. Well, that's why I'm saying, man, like the growth ambition, I I do worry about that because it's just simply driven by greed and the need for more, more, more. Bigger. Everything's got to be bigger all the time. It's got to be more. And anything less than that is seen as complacency. Not satisfaction, but complacency. And I think that's where the misguidance comes from. Being satisfied doesn't mean you're complacent. And I think that a lot of these companies, the publicly traded companies, a lot of them, especially the tech-driven ones, yeah, they just kind of have this mindset. The board has a certain mindset that's driven usually by the shareholders, which is like, yes, satisfaction is complacency. And we're not okay with that because my bank account still needs to grow. My second yacht ain't going to pay for itself, bro. It's not always that simple. But yeah, man, it's like, that's why I get nervous. It's not about being upset at more people playing games. It's not about, oh man, they took my games. Like, no, it's about what is this truly in the name of at the end of the day? Because I feel like, it's like when Sony turns to us and says, yeah, we need to do this. If you want, listen, if you want more of these bigger AAA games, the ones that you claim you like so much, then we're going to have to do this. Or we're going to have to do even more remasters, or we're going to have to do even more PC ports. And it's like, well, look, man, I'm going to be honest. I think like a lot of PlayStation players would be like, well, actually, we'd be okay if you just if you want to lower the budget of your games a little bit and scale them back slightly, like if that's really what's needed to make sure you're not running in the red, yeah, we're okay with that. I still think the games will be really good, and yeah, that's okay. That's where I think like Sony would be like, well, no, we're not going to do that. We got to go bigger. It's like, well, not all the time. It's like, no, we have to. I think basically what I'm trying to describe here is at some point we kind of realize like Sony is basically trying to make it seem like this is what everybody's asking for, but in reality, it's like, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that's what you want. I think this is a you thing, Sony. Like, this is what you want as a company, and that's driven mostly by the shareholders. Meanwhile, I think most of the fan base, like the core fan base, is just kind of like either just confused or indifferent. So I guess this is just how it is. Doesn't always have to be bad, but it's, All right. Let's see where we're at. I realize we just passed the 2.5 hour mark. So, guys, I think this is going to be a good place to maybe do a last call. I'll stream for maybe like 5 more minutes or so, just a couple more minutes. If you guys want to drop any more support, any more fan funding before the stream ends, you have basically a couple minutes to do it now. We're sitting at 6 members. So if somebody wants to drop a 20 bomb and get us to 26 members, please do so. If somebody wants to get a member train started, please do so. Now would be the time before we wrap up. If you have any more super chats you want to drop, any more direct donos, now is the time, because we're going to keep this one a little bit shorter. And we have Moonshot with another direct donation. Thank you, Moonshot. No members lounge today, Chris, because we did a morning with the misses. All right. Members lounge will be returning hopefully next week. Moonshot says a bigger PS5 install base from being on the market longer and being the premier home console, more compelling / advanced PS6 hardware and PS6 launch lineup. Yeah, that does sound pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, that does sound pretty good. I think it would also benefit the PS5 in the sense that a lot of people feel like this generation kind of got off to a slower start or a weird start. So I could see that actually benefiting the PS5 quite a bit. Figuratively Literal with a super chat says, I think it's smart to cast a wide net PC as a contingency, even but getting too aggressive is playing with fire. Yeah, I think that's kind of the whole situation, right? It's kind of like, yeah, we want to cast the widest net possible, but if we start to make it like, how does Sony do it? You know, like if Sony does want to go day and date on PC, how do they do it? Because we all know what that looks like the day that's announced, and it's not going to be pretty. And that's kind of the problem, right? It's like Until Dawn remake, day one PC. All right. Nobody said anything. Nobody cares. Nobody noticed. Lego Horizon Adventures, day one PC. All right. It's nice and quiet. Still not noticing anything. But it's like Death Stranding 2, day one PC. You're gonna hear an eruption. You know? Like that's the thing here is like it seems like Sony, they've been inching towards this, but they're still not making that decision. Like they're still not doing it. And I think it's just because they know, dude, like the moment you do that, it's a turning point. There's just like right now, just like last year when Microsoft said just 4 games, I was like telling people like this is the turning point. Like the genie's out, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. This is it. And that's why you could see some people, you know, they were still kind of holding on. We're like, no, it's just 4 games. It's like, no, it's not, dude. Like this is it. They're telling you. They're just trying to let you down gently. And I feel like that's what Sony's kind of been doing. It's like every 2 to 3 years, flash forward 4 years. Now you get games dropping, you know, Helldivers day one, Until Dawn. Like literally the only games that are not dropping day one are the single player ones, the new single player tentpole titles. And I'm telling you, Sony's afraid. And they have a good reason to be afraid because they don't fucking know what's going to happen. But it's more than likely going to be a bomb that goes off, you know? And it's one of these things where they're just going to have to say, we're just, the only way out is through, right? Like, we just got to do it. Like, Sony themselves are going to be like, we just got to rip the Band-Aid off and be done with it. But what if the backlash is too severe, man? What if the backlash is too severe? At this point, it seems like it wouldn't be as severe, but we don't know that. We don't know that, man. It's unpredictable. So, you're welcome, Chris. But guys, that is going to do it for today's stream. No members lounge today. No. I'm sorry. I'm drained, bro. But go watch The Morning with the Misses, okay? We did an hour and a half stream. Morning with the Misses. If you're a channel member, go check that out. If you're not a member, consider becoming one. Guys, that is going to wrap up the stream today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for watching. Again, shout out if you're somebody who is watching later on. I want to give a big thank you to everybody who dropped some fan funding, if you dropped membership gifts, if you became a member, if you dropped a super chat, or if you dropped a direct donation. Thank you guys so much. I can only do this because you guys make it possible. It's Beast Mode. You're saying I want to re-up my membership, but I'm not home yet. Maybe the next one. Yeah, it's no big deal, man. If you want to wait till the next stream, that's fine too. I always appreciate it. And I also want to make sure to give a thank you to Devil Shooter. He does the timestamps for the streams. He does a great job. If you guys see him in the comments, show him some love, give him some thanks. I know he appreciates it. And we should be back here Sunday. Yeah, I have no intention of not doing a Sunday stream, so we should be back here Sunday. Maybe we'll do an emergency stream tomorrow if Halo is announced for PlayStation. I might actually do the ultra rare Saturday stream. So just be on the lookout for that. 12-hour members launch coming up tomorrow. All right, guys. Thank you once again. The only other thing I want to ask you to do as you're heading out is make sure you hit that like button, and that wraps it up. So, all right, I will catch you guys in the next one. Until then, take care, everyone.